All right, so they say that drought is to be blamed on the current crisis that we are having in the country with the food shortage that we do have, and this skyrocketing prices of maize flour and other staple food. And we have our panelists here, of course, from the business community to weigh in on this morning to tell us more of what they think of the current situation. Is it a problem of management and leadership? As today we are focusing on ethical leadership. Allow me to introduce our guests this morning who are already here to take us through this particular topic that we'll be discussing this morning. We have with us Polycarp Igathe, who is a Vivo Energy Managing Director, and he'll be speaking to us also today on ethical leadership. Also, we have Kiprono Kittony, is a current national chair of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Also, we do have with us Obath, is an associate director at Adam Smith International Africa. We have with us as well Flora Mutahi. She is the current chair of KEPSA, the Kenya Association, as you say, of Manufacturers, not KEPSA, and also the founder and CEO of Melvin Mash International Limited. Right, gentlemen and lady, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Right, looking at what we have, 30,000 tons of maize flour arriving in the country. We have the cabinet secretary also raising accusatory finger to the drought, saying the reason that we're here and the skyrocketing prices of maize is because of this current drought. But this has been cyclical. It's very cyclical, I should say. 5 years back, we were here with the same problem. We were on the same spot with the Kenya for Kenya initiative. So are we none the wiser when it comes to learning about, you know, how we can secure this country when it comes to food? Because it seems no one is really taking, all we have is just a band-aid solution. Now we have this, we have a supplementary budget coming up, then what? Patrick? Polycarp, sorry.
Okay, Debarl, thank you, good morning. I'm of the view that we need to acknowledge one fact, that consumption of maize in this country has exceeded the production levels, and we are dealing with the immediate problem, but we need to also tackle the long-term problem. The immediate problem, yes, we will fix it. We'll get maize from Mexico, prices will start to come down, but this mismatch between demand and supply from the country we have to fix. And underlying that is, first of all, fixing land policy to make sure that the land that grows our food is not encroached by any other thing. So there's a land policy issue, there's a distribution policy issue to attend to, so that we can reduce a lot of the knee-jerk reaction that we have. And I'm very pleased, and I think the chairman of Kenya Association of Manufacturers can speak to it, that the millers and the government are talking to one another to arrive at a solution. I don't think we always need to try and lay blame where when we have problems. We should just really come together and just find a solution very quickly, but move forward. But what we must avoid is a short-termism of the solutions, as you say.
All right, so drought is to blame. Flora?
I have no doubt that drought plays a big part. But like you say, is drought a surprise? We do know from statistics that drought will come and drought will go. So I do think a bigger problem perhaps could be down also to just factors of cost of doing business. The factors that the millers and all the manufacturers are facing. We do have planning also is an issue. Are we planning ourselves, considering we know drought is coming? Are we able to put away enough of the supply that we need, knowing that we'll have the demand within the year? What I'm talking about is actually making sure that our strategic grain reserve is big enough, is well secured, because we tend to find they keep stock for 2-3 months, yes, knowing that there'll be a drought coming up. So for me, also the environment that that the millers are operating in is also very, very unstable. Yes. Down from policy, you know, down to an unexpected taxation. Right now we have the county double taxation going on. So I think if we deal with a lot of these things, it will harmonize and make the playing field a little bit easier to navigate. All right. But planning is a big thing.
Planning is a big thing.
Planning is a big thing.
Can we also peg all these things to poor leadership? Kiprono.
Good morning, Debarl. First of all, I think that's a topic that's very near and dear to me, because I am first and foremost a farmer before I even become a businessman. I grew up in a farm, and I spend a lot of my time actually doing farming. Let me be candid and say that we are not serious about our agriculture in this country. We are completely not serious. I agree with Polycarp that there are issues around land policy and the issue of demarcation of land, and you know, we continue to have smaller and smaller parcels of land, and we are therefore unable to harness economies of scale out of those farms. But if we really look seriously into the mirror, as a country, we have not been serious about our agricultural productivity. What is the average production of maize per acre in Kenya? 20 years ago, it was more than 20 bags an acre.
Yes.
Today, because of the repetitive farming practices, that has gone down. What is the per capita yield of milk in this country? What has happened to the sugar plantations of Kenya? Why is it that our neighbor, Uganda, is producing far more sugar per hectare than we are? I mean, there are serious issues about productivity. We aren't harnessing the rainfall that we have as a country. In many of the breadbasket districts, we have over 1,500 millimeters of rainfall per year. It just flows into the rivers. Nobody does anything to harness that and to take it into agricultural productivity. I mean, I have been to many countries, and I think I'll be candid to say we have really not been serious about our agriculture.
Right, so we always talk a good game about water harvesting. Going by the picture we just had at the top shot of a day, you look at how houses are submerged, and yet we are always talking about plans and Nairobi Water Master Plan or the Kenya Water Master Plan, and coming up also with a secretariat to, you know, ensure that water harvesting also is looked keenly into. So are we just a talking country? No action, no implementation? Good policies that also other parts of Africa are borrowing, but when it comes to implementations, that is just a different kettle of fish.
I think we suffer from, you know, this is not uniquely Kenyan, but this is almost policy paralysis. We have done policy after policy after policy, and I think we know what needs to be done. I think that the harnessing of natural resources, the management of natural resources in the country is a key thing. I think the whole issue of management of water as a natural resource for us, I think needs to be done urgently, because almost everything within the food chain that people are complaining about now has a fundamental requirement, water. Whether it is milk, whether it is flour, all these items just require good management of water. And if you look at the flooding that is happening now, it is bad planning. We have got laws about planning. And what you're finding is that in places where there's flooding, people have basically gone away from what should have been done. If it is in towns, the whole issue of drainage, cleanliness and all that, we know that needs to be done, and there's policies for that. We don't do anything about it. So water comes and finds its own natural path because we've stopped the normal one, and then you find that flooding happens. But also, in terms of, I think on a general basis across the whole country, the days when I was a young man, we used to have springs coming out of almost every place in the country. But we've gone out and cut the undergrowth, cut forests and everything else. And what is happening now is basically water, when it rains, water goes straight to the sea. It's not held back long enough for it to go back into God's natural reservoirs, which are aquifers, so that effectively they can release slowly over time. So I think we really need to go back to fundamentals, implement the policies that we have, manage the natural resource, which is water, better, and then the rest will follow.
Thank you. And can we pay gold this also to poor leadership? I can hear poor planning, I can hear policies, a lot of words, you know, that are actually under the ambit of leadership being thrown around. Yeah. Briefly, as today we're discussing, you know, ethical leadership and how we can develop ethical leadership in this country. I think it is time that we start actually engaging the public and, you know, and the populace about ethical leadership as well. The whole aspect of it, you know.
Debarl, you ask a very good question. Thanks. We've dedicated a whole chapter in our constitution to values, ethics and leadership. And I think when you listen to the distinguished panel here this morning, for me, what bothers me and what I deal with as a Kenyan and also as a leader in my small corner is how come there's such a gap between what we say and what we do? What creates this massive gap between what we say and what we do? And we really need to address that, and we must start addressing that with every single tool and lever we have to reduce that gap. It's becoming increasingly larger, and when we address ourselves to that, I think we will start to get out of it. Sometimes we burrow our heads in the sand, so the doers are blamed, the ones who, you know, we get into a very unhelpful blame game, rather than, because at the end of the day, if we blame, the leaders are blamed by the followers and vice versa, you just end up with, what do you end up with? You just end up with a conference of national mourning, rather than real solutions, because they're children we have to feed at the end of the day. So on this issue of food and agriculture, we must, I'm not sure we even have a place you can go and ask somebody, what is the consumption of maize in Kenya? And they give you an immediate answer. And how much land is available for production, and they give you an immediate answer. So we have a data problem, then we have an analytical problem, and because we are using the wrong data to analyze the problem, perhaps we are even addressing the wrong problem. And that often happens a lot, especially in business. You always have to ask yourself, am I addressing the right problem? Am I doing the right thing? And I think that's a big part of ethical leadership, doing the right thing the right way. Many times we are doing the wrong thing the right way.
But we have people that I think Kenyans are paying taxes to actually make sure these people, they give the right advice to the president. A host of advisory council that we have within the presidency. So what do they do? In fact, you should be questioning these people what they do. If there is a mismatch when we don't have a good data, that we can actually try and plan on an informed basis, because if you have good data and accurate data, then you'll have also accurate information that will make you also plan well. Let's just also hear from Phyllis. The food crisis we have in the country. Good morning, good to see you.
Good morning, Debarl.
Right, welcome.
See you.
Yes, where we are today, 30 tons of maize flour will be arriving in the country, and of course we are eagerly waiting to hear also what the supplementary budget will be in the course of also next week. Would you mind telling us, do you think this is pegged on good governance?
Thank you, Debarl. I walked in and I think I've heard everything everyone has said. All of it starts from, first of all, how we plan as a country, because something like drought happens, I think, every 5 years or every so often. So planning is critical. The spending that we put towards agriculture, there's the declaration that we're supposed to spend about 10% of our budget on agriculture, and that is currently not happening. So there's a myriad of issues, the issues of taxations, the issues that affect the competitiveness of business in the country. All that put together has actually led to what we are currently facing. It's unfortunate that the drought is a natural occurrence and something that we couldn't control, but we could have planned better. So there is a place for leadership. There's a place for ensuring that leaders have responsibility and accountability. But more than anything, as a citizen, we need to find a joint solution going forward, because sitting and moaning and trying to complain doesn't take us anywhere. But as a country, to jointly say, what do we need to do to ensure this never happens again? So that's where we sit today, from the places of responsibility and leadership that we sit in.
All right, thank you. Yeah.